Freedom from Mind Noise, posted on August 11th, 2011. The mind can get incredibly noisy at times, and it can also go totally silent at times. You can never know when your mind decides to become noisy, just like you can't know when a baby decides to cry and wail. Once you realize that no human being has ever succeeded in stopping the mind from being noisy, because the mind is not really in our total control, just like your heartbeat is not in your control, you let go of the attempt to want to silence your mind. Just like it's not possible for you to ensure that a baby never cries, it's never possible to ensure that mind does not become noisy. It's possible for the mind to be silent for hours, maybe days, and suddenly become really noisy for a whole morning or night. So don't get surprised the mind that you calmed through meditation suddenly decides to become noisy. The question is not how to stop mind noise. It's not possible. The question is how to be free of identifying with it. Allowing is the best way to silence the mind. Anything you allow fully loses its power over you and ebbs away in its influence. As long as you resist something, you'll be shackled to it. When your mind becomes noisy, allow it the freedom to be as noisy as it wants to be. The mind can suddenly come up with negative stories, judgments, fearful projections, scary images, doom-based thoughts, etc., and when it does so, you might try to resist it or shut it up, only to find that resisting the noise only seems to make things worse and that the mind becomes even more noisy. The best thing to do when the mind is noisy is to become totally open to it and allow its noise to blare out in full volume until it gets exhausted and becomes silent on its own. Don't try to force think positive thoughts. It's not possible to consciously think positive thoughts when the mind turns on a strong momentum of negative thinking. You'll only end up feeling miserable about not being able to control the mind. Freedom arises when you realize that the mind has no control over you, and that the mind can be as noisy as it wants to be, but without your interest or attention, it can't sustain its noise for long. Mind noise cannot sustain without your interest. You can notice that no matter how noisy the mind is, it cannot sustain its noise for more than a few minutes if you don't identify with it. It's only when you feed it with the attention and interest will the noise stay on longer. When the mind gets noisy, it's usually playing out some repetitive thoughts of anxiety, grief, or resentment. When you are conscious of its noise, you have the choice to stay as a space of awareness and allow the noise to fade away in momentum. Even the most intense mind noise cannot last for more than 30 minutes at a stretch if you don't feed it with attention. Don't be afraid of mind noise. A mind that has a lot of past negative momentum can suddenly get intensely noisy out of the blue, and it can totally take you by surprise by its intensity. Most people get scared of this mind noise and cringe away from it or try to escape it through some means of addiction. But if you're willing to stay steady in your awareness, you'll notice that the mind is just a machine, a radio station, that's blaring out noisy thoughts of fear, and you have the choice to not believe its fears and stay disidentified with it. Mind's intelligence is mechanical. The reason you fear the mind's noise is because it feels as if someone is talking to you. But in truth, it's only the output of the neural network of your brain to certain interpretations and projections that it has conjured up based on certain memories and neurons being triggered. It's just a machine, a neural network, a computer which is running on auto mode. You have the choice to simply allow the noise to fade away without being totally identified with it. All solutions that are needed will come to you effortlessly if you stay in this state of relaxed allowing. This is a highly intelligent state to be in.